Hey everyone, it's Gavin, and I need to tell you about something that happened to me when I was 15. I've been sitting on this story for years because, honestly, I wasn't sure I'd ever be ready to share it. But I can't keep it inside anymore. This is the story of the night I realized something evil was after my dad and me. It's the night I learned what fear really feels like. So, grab a blanket, turn off the lights, and let's get into it. Back then, my dad and I lived in this beat-up old trailer in a valley so remote you could scream and no one would hear you. The place was a wreck, barely functioning. The bathroom doubled as the kitchen, with a flimsy curtain separating it from the rest of the trailer. There was no shower, the pipes froze every winter, and the tiny room I shared with my dad was only kept warm by a rattling space heater. We slept on couches so close I could reach out and touch him if I wanted to. The trailer was packed with junk, leaving just a narrow path from the front door to our room. It was cramped, but I loved spending time with my dad. Until that weekend. It started one morning when I woke up to my dad standing at the front door, staring at the ground. He looked off. His face was pale, his eyes distant. "What's up?" I asked, rubbing sleep from my eyes. He shook his head, like he was trying to shake off a bad dream. "It's nothing, boy," he said in that gruff tone he used when he'd been drinking. I hated when he called me boy. It always meant he was in a dark mood, somewhere between sad and angry. But I shrugged it off and stepped outside to see what had him so spooked. That's when I saw them. Footprints in the fresh snow. Dozens of them, all different sizes, circling the trailer. They were human, I think, but something about them felt wrong. Too many, too chaotic, like a crowd had been out there in the night. I figured they belonged to the old man who owned the property. Maybe he'd been checking on us. But my dad's silence told me he didn't think so. That night, I was on my couch, scrolling through my phone. Thank God the valley had cell service, while Dad watched TV. It was around 10:30 when we heard it. A sharp knock at the front door. My head snapped up, and I saw Dad freeze, his eyes locked on the bedroom door. "I wonder what that was?" I said, my voice small. He pressed a finger to his lips, shushing me, his face hard. The knocking came again, but this time it wasn't from the door. It was right by our heads, on the wall of our room. My heart jumped into my throat. Dad shot up, his jaw clenched, and stormed down the narrow path to the front door. I peeked out, watching as he yanked it open. There was someone or something out there. I couldn't see it, but I heard its voice, and I'll never forget how it sounded. It was like nails on a chalkboard, each word dripping with venom. "Can I help you?" my dad asked, his voice steady but tight. "Your time has come," the thing replied, its tone so vile I felt it in my bones. I shuddered, my skin crawling. My dad, though, he didn't flinch. He slammed the door shut and yelled, "You stay the fuck away from me," before stomping back to our room. "Who was that?" I whispered, my nerves frayed from his shouting. "Don't worry about it," he said, his eyes back on the TV, but I could tell he was shaken. I didn't push him. Things were already tense enough between us. I curled up on my couch and somehow managed to fall asleep, the TV's hum drowning out my racing thoughts. I don't know how long I was out before the pounding woke me. It was louder this time, more desperate, like someone, or a lot of someone's, was trying to break in. The trailer's thin walls shook with each hit, and my heart pounded in my chest. The lights were off, but I could see Dad's eyes glinting in the dark, wide open, staring at the ceiling. "Ignore it," he said, his voice low. I'm not sure how he knew I was awake, but I nodded, turning over and burying my face in the couch. The pounding didn't stop. It got worse, coming from all sides now, like we were surrounded. Each thud sent a jolt through me, my heart fluttering in the worst way. I didn't sleep after that. The next morning, we stepped outside to head into town for groceries. The snow was a mess. More footprints, so many it looked like a mob had circled the trailer all night. There were even dents in the trailer's walls, small but deep, where fists must have hammered against it. I couldn't stop staring, my stomach twisting. "Pay it no mind, boy," Dad said, his voice sharp. He hadn't been drinking, so why was he still calling me that? "Who are they, though? Doesn't it scare you?" I asked, pressing my fist into one of the dents. Felt cold, wrong. "They're not your concern," he said, his tone final. "Ignore them and all will be well." But his words felt hollow, like he was hiding something big. I wanted to push, but the look in his eyes stopped me. He was always a mysterious man, and I'd long suspected he had secrets, maybe even enemies. But why come at night? Why like this? We went to town, but the whole time Dad was on edge. I could feel the tension radiating off him, like a storm cloud ready to burst. Whoever or whatever was coming for us, it had him rattled. We got back to the trailer, ate a sad dinner of microwave ramen and a sandwich with just pickles and mustard. Our kitchen setup was a joke, and settled in for the night. Dad's fists were clenched the whole evening, like he was waiting for a fight. But that night, nothing happened. No knocking, no pounding. I fell asleep to the TV, facing the room's only window, and for a moment, I thought maybe it was over. I was wrong. I woke up to the pounding again, louder than ever. It was everywhere, the front door, the walls, the roof. The trailer shook like it was going to collapse, and I sat up, gasping. Dad was already sitting up on his couch, staring at the window. I followed his gaze, and my blood ran cold. There was a hooded figure outside, peering in. The window was 8 feet off the ground, but this thing was tall, too tall, bending down to look at us. Its face lit up, maybe from a torch it was holding, and I saw it. An elongated chin, blackened eyes, and a gaping void where its mouth should have been. It was smiling at me, a horrible, hungry smile. Couldn't breathe. Dad shot me a look, pressing his finger to his lips again. "They're begging for my soul," he whispered, his voice trembling. "Hush, boy, or they'll know you're here and want yours too." "Who are they?" I hissed, my chest tight with panic. The figure's eyes locked onto mine, and I swear it knew I was there. Dad didn't answer. He leapt up, grabbed a blanket, and covered the window in one swift motion. Then he grabbed my face, his hands rough, and looked me dead in the eyes. "Listen to me," he said, his voice low and urgent. "It's by unfortunate circumstance that you're here right now. Do as I say, or your soul will be reaped. They're begging for it, boy. Can't you hear?" I could hear something. Amid the pounding, there was chanting, faint but growing louder. "We have come, we have come." And then another phrase, colder, more sinister. "The young feed the old." Chains rattled outside, mixing with the pounding, and it was too much. I wanted to scream, but Dad's grip kept me quiet. "Who are they?" I asked again, my voice shaking. He pulled me close, whispering in my ear, "They've always come. You've just never been here when they do. There's a reason your mom left me, and it wasn't just to protect you. They're after me too." "Then why don't they come to Mom's house?" I asked, pulling away. "If they want my soul so bad?" "Because I'm the center of the curse," he said, his voice heavy with something I couldn't understand. "What curse?" I pressed, but before he could answer, glass shattered at the other end of the trailer. "Stay here," Dad barked, grabbing an old sword he kept by his bed. I didn't even know he had it until that moment. "Are they inside?" I whispered, my voice cracking. "Quiet," he snapped. "They won't get past this door. And if they do, I'll make them wish they hadn't." I'd never seen him like that. Battle-ready, fierce, but I could tell he was scared too. Dull thuds echoed through the trailer, like bodies dropping to the floor. They were inside. The chanting grew louder, ear-piercing, screaming, "We have come!" The pounding didn't stop, even as they moved through the trailer, clawing at the bedroom door. I sat there, frozen, listening to the nightmare unfolding just feet away. What kind of curse was this? What had my dad done to bring this on us? They tried all night to get in, scratching, banging, chanting, but somehow the door held. When the first light of dawn crept through the trees, they left. I was exhausted, my eyes burning, my body trembling. Dad was still standing, his back against the door, half asleep on his feet. The second he realized they were gone, he turned to me. "We're leaving," he said. "Now." I didn't argue. I grabbed my stuff, and we stepped into the other half of the trailer. It was destroyed. Deep claw marks raked across the floor, the air thick with the smell of burnt wood. But that wasn't the worst of it. Outside, just 5 feet from the door, was an effigy made of wood and bone, with the head of the property owner on top. His face was frozen in terror, his eyes wide, his mouth open in a silent scream. My stomach churned, and I thought I'd be sick. Dad didn't hesitate. He swung his arm and knocked the effigy down, the head rolling into the snow. "God damn you!" he shouted at the sky. "When will it be enough?" Couldn't look at the head anymore. "Are you calling the police?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "No," he said, his tone flat. "He's one of them now. They took him, and now he's replaced. Another thing that'll come for us in the night." I wanted to ask more, but then I saw it. A note on the ground, scrawled in what looked like blood. I picked it up, my hands shaking, and read it aloud. "Tonight you will relinquish your souls to us. You will become a part of our congregation. You will not be successful in preventing our intrusion. The nightly reaping must be performed." I looked at Dad, my heart sinking. "How many people have died to keep us alive?" I asked. He didn't answer. He snatched the note from my hands, threw it down, and said, "We're leaving." The snow around the trailer was a mess. Footprints everywhere, like a trench from their circling. They'd been relentless. We stayed with my grandma that night. She didn't ask questions, just let us in. But I could tell she knew something was wrong. Dad and I stayed up by candlelight, and I finally worked up the courage to ask, "How long has this been happening?" He looked at me, his eyes tired. "Long before you were born." "You really don't know what they are?" Pressed. He sighed, like the weight of the world was on him. "They're the embodiment of death, a manifestation of evil. Hunters, lurkers, chasers for human souls. The Grim Reaper, you could say." "That's terrifying," I said, my voice breaking. "I know you're scared," he said softly. "I've always been scared, from the moment this started. All you need to know is they can be avoided. We were just unlucky this time. You especially." "You said the curse is centered around you," I said. "What does that mean?" "It means if you're around me when they come knocking, they might take your soul too, if they get inside." "Like last night?" I asked. He nodded, his face grim. "That was unfortunate." I was too exhausted to keep going. I passed out on the couch and thankfully, nothing woke me that night. The next day, we went back to the trailer to grab more stuff. Dad had already decided we were moving again. But when we got there, the trailer was gone. Well, not gone, but torn apart. Something had ripped through it like a beast, shredding the walls. Our bedroom was completely missing, like it had been swiped clean off the earth. We never found the pieces. Dad just shook his head and said, "There's no help for this." Years went by after that. We moved to an apartment, and for a long time, there were no more incidents, no more nightly reapings, as we started calling them. I tried researching curses, even posted on forums to see if anyone else had experienced something like this, but I found nothing. I started spending less time with my dad, and I never stayed the night. The fear of those things coming back was too much. But then, a few days ago, I got a text from him. I didn't see it right away. My phone glitched, and I only just noticed it now. It said, "I'm sorry, son. I spent half a century on this earth, and for more than a quarter of that, I've been running. This morning, I walked outside and saw footprints. Not one pair, not even two, but many, and you know what that means. They've come knocking. I'm apologizing because I'm not going to fight it anymore. I suppose I just wanted to say I love you and that I hope you realize the effort I went through to be here for you. However, you're a grown man now, and therefore my struggle can find its end, even if it is by the hands of that damn congregation. Do well with yourself and never forget how proud you've made me. The nightly reaping must be performed." I'm sitting here now, tears streaming down my face, because I just realized that message is from 2 days ago. I don't know if he's still alive. I don't know if they took him. All I know is I'm terrified, because if they're done with him, what if they come for me next? If you've ever experienced something like this, please tell me I'm not alone. And if you hear knocking at night, don't answer the door.